Thank you for your patience. We're ready to get started. I'd like to welcome you to our March the 28th council meeting. In the interest of time efficiency and ensuring that everyone who wishes to address the council is given the opportunity to do so, the following will apply to all comments made by the public. Each speaker shall be allotted 3 minutes to address the council unless such time is extended by the mayor or by questions from council. Groups shall designate a spokesperson to avoid repetition of comments. Every effort will be made to avoid interrupting speakers. We thank you for participating in your city government. With that, I call this council meeting to order. Can we all please stand together for the invocation? I'd like to welcome Pastor Jay McKeag from Crossroad Baptist Church, who will lead us in our invocation. Please remain standing after the invocation for our Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Pastor.
Please join me in prayer. Father God, we thank you for the privilege that we have to be here tonight. We thank you for this city. We thank you for this community, Father. This week, as we remember that time over 2,000 years ago when your son came to die on the cross of Calvary and rise again, we just pray that your peace and your joy and the comfort that comes from that will be poured out upon this community. We thank you, Father, for these that are here that faithfully serve you. And we pray, Father, you pour out a special blessing upon each one of them and each one that's here tonight to help mold and shape this community. Father, we just pray that everything that's done here tonight will bring honor and glory to you. It will be done peacefully and with patience. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll? Here.
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Here.
Councilmember Urban.
Here.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Here.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Here. We'd like to ask our city manager if we have any agenda updates for us.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We're going to postpone the presentation by the Economic Development Department.
All right, thank you. That'll be rescheduled. And could you also provide us with an update regarding our IT
Yes.
situation?
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, we became aware of a cyber event here on Monday morning. This did cause disruption, but we were prepared and our IT department responded quickly. We're still working to determine the full impact, the full nature, scope, and any impact to data. But staff is working around the clock, and I'd like to thank the staff that's working on this, the remaining staff who is modifying our current processes to continue to keep the city operating, and thank council for their support, as well as the community that has been so understanding and willing to work with us right now. And we're really appreciative while we recover from this and get back to our normal operations.
And on behalf of the council, we're certainly incredibly appreciative for the way the city staff has responded to this challenge, and we know that you'll continue to walk us through this. First of all, we have a proclamation in recognition of Water Conservation Month to Ronnie Tilley. Are you here? From Toho Water Authority. Whereas water is a basic and essential need of every living creature, and whereas the state of Florida, water management districts, the city of St. Cloud, and Toho Water Authority are working together to increase awareness about the importance of water conservation, and whereas the city of St. Cloud and the state of Florida have designated April, typically a dry month when water demands are most acute, Florida's Water Conservation Month, to educate citizens about how they can help save Florida's precious water resources. And whereas the City of St. Cloud and Toho Water Authority have always encouraged and supported water conservation through various education programs and special events. And whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can make a difference when it comes to conserving water. And whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can help by saving water and thus promote a healthy economy and community. And whereas outdoor irrigation comprises a large portion of water use, the City of St. Cloud and Toho Water Authority will encourage citizens and businesses to focus on improving outdoor irrigation efficiency. Now therefore, be it resolved that by the virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the City of St. Cloud, I do hereby proclaim the month of April as Water Conservation Month. St. Cloud and Toho Water Authority is calling upon each citizen and business to help protect our precious resources by practicing water-saving measures and becoming more aware of the need to save water. For this, the 26th year of Water Conservation Month, there will be a special focus on improving outdoor irrigation efficiency.
Thank you.
Would you like to say something?
Just appreciate your support. Thank you very much.
And I believe South Florida Water Management District is here also.
All right.
I don't know if you'd like to at least join for the picture, or if you have anything to say.
If you'll please come forward. Would you like to say a word?
Quick?
Yes.
Okay, excellent, excellent. I will do that. I just wanted to say, so my name is Nicole Masters. I'm an external affairs specialist for South Florida Water Management District. And first, I just want to say thank you, Mayor Blackwell, city council members, and the city of St. Cloud for proclaiming April as Water Conservation Month. And it is just an honor and to be up here alongside the City of St. Cloud and Toho Water Authority to help bring awareness and increase awareness about the importance of water conservation. So thank you. Thank you all.
Could you step over here? You'll
Yes.
get the center since you got it. Okay. Yeah, why don't you- there you go. There you go, like that. And she's gonna be right over there. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank-
Sorry, I didn't mean to overlook you. At this time, we have a presentation of the Employee of the Month by Shane Rayome. Is that close?
Good evening. I'd like to be the first to congratulate the February 2024 Employee of the Month, Gabrielle Clockers. Gabrielle Clockers demonstrated exemplary service recently when a customer reported losing her phone in the recycling cart, which had already been collected and taken to the transfer station. Without hesitation, Gabrielle took it upon herself to search through the recycling piles and went above and beyond to retrieve the phone from the discarded materials at the transfer station and returned the phone to its owner. Gabrielle's dedication to customer service and willingness to help others exemplify the values we strive for the city and the City of St. Cloud. Please join me in congratulating Gabrielle Clockers on their well-deserved recognition. Great job, Gabrielle.
This is Claudia's daughter, our deputy city clerk's daughter.
Come over here. That's right.
Just want to say about that phone, it was one of my staff members at my church. He was getting ready to go on a vacation trip, and he realized he had lost his phone, and it dawned on him as they were thinking about, well, I might have dropped that into the recycling bin that he had just emptied and been picked up by the city. They got on the phone. He got on another phone and realized he saw his phone traveling down the road and realized it was in the recycling truck. Do you know how much recycling stuff is in a truck? Well, they went, dumped all of that, and it took a long time, but they found that phone, and it was intact, and we just want to say thank you. I had a very happy staff member that you recovered the phone, and thank you so much for all your help. I thought it was funny, he didn't. The next item on our agenda is the Citizens Forum. Any person who desires to comment on any item not on this agenda is provided this opportunity to address the City Council. Each person is requested to complete a signing form to be provided to the presiding officer prior to or as soon as is practical after the person addresses the council. I have one request to address the council from Trishan Smith, is that right? And you can pronounce your name correctly when you introduce yourself.
My name is Tristan. I work
There
at
you go.
Toho Riverboat Adventures. We just wanted to give you guys a quarterly update. It's been about 6 months since we brought the Pearl here. We are very excited to let you know that just since January, we have welcomed 360 families from St. Cloud. So all of our locals are enjoying the boat downtown. We have had 171 families from across Florida, 162 from across the U.S., and 65 families from across the world come to St. Cloud to enjoy the boat. We are excited to let you know that in November, we will be hosting a large fall festival at the lakefront on November 16th, and we are looking forward to having all of you there. I don't know if anybody knows, but we were on the St. Cloud Chamber of Commerce directory, and we are so honored. I brought a couple of them for you guys.
All right. If you'll give them over there, they'll pass them out, okay?
So yeah, we've had a few businesses from downtown let us know and send letters that they have had an increase in sales, and we love hearing that because part of Captain Stitch's mission was to help our community with the boat, and we do see that. So we just wanted to let you guys know, happy update, and we look forward to working with you guys in the future.
All right. Well, thank you very much. That's certainly been a delightful addition to our city. Would anyone else like to speak during the Citizens Forum? Could you mash your button? Let me see if it's working.
Okay.
There, it was working. That's working.
There, got it, okay.
All right.
Yes, Rob Miller, 1660 Breezewood Street, and I'd like to address item X1 on the agenda.
No. We're not there yet, okay?
Oh, well, I don't know the
This is on the
procedure,
consent agenda, okay? Give me just a second, and I'll let you speak.
Well, should I fill this form out and turn it in, sir?
I mean, this is during the Citizens Forum. Just give me a second, and I'll give you a chance. I haven't gotten to the consent agenda yet,
I'm sorry. My apologies.
all right?
I think X1 is actually council action.
Council action.
Okay, I didn't hear exactly what he said. The next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. The next portion of tonight's meeting is the consent agenda, which contains items that have been determined to be routine and non-controversial. If anyone in the audience wishes to address a particular item on the consent agenda, now is the opportunity for you to do so. Additionally, if staff or members of the City Council wish to speak on a consent item, they will be given the same opportunity. First of all, I'd like to recognize our city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'd just like to make a comment on item J on the consent agenda whenever the council's ready.
Okay, you want to do that now?
Sure, certainly. So item J is the tri-party agreement between WSGIR LLC, the city and Osceola County related to the Waterland project and the construction of a considerable amount of framework roads within the project. The construction project of the construction associated with these framework roads makes the developer eligible for mobility fee credits, most of which will likely be issued in the county. However, possibly there could be some that are issued in the city. The agreement that's before you, there was a last-minute change made to that agreement. There's one page has been passed out to you that shows the change. It essentially changes the language related to the transferability of mobility fee credits. It makes it more consistent with the statute that authorizes that to do that and designates the difference between the county mobility fees and the city mobility fees. So when that item is approved, if you are to approve that item, we'd ask that you approve it with that change to page 13 of the agreement that's before you.
All right, thank you very much. Councilmember Matheny.
I want to pull item K and M for discussion.
K and M.
Yes.
Are there any other items that the council wishes to address? If not, we will look at item K. Councilmember Matheny.
Thank you. So when I was reading my agenda package, I was concerned initially about that we were doing 116 residential lots and that the development is mixed use, and I wanted to make sure that we were following the mixed use guidelines. In my conversation with Mr. Tomac, I understand that this is the way that it was in the master plan, and so we are following that. So that took that concern away. My other concern is that there are drainage problems in the roadway in this community. And I don't know if you guys saw it on social media a few months ago that the roads were having a lot of standing water on them. And I know it's an issue that's being worked on. However, it's not resolved. So for me, I would like to postpone this approval until that is addressed. I understand there has been some conversations about holding some mobility fees, and maybe Mr. Tomac can come. But in my experience, what happens is we approve things, and then later we find the fix is more expensive or more difficult or more challenging than we initially thought. So I would like to, see how everybody else feels, but I'm going to make a motion to postpone this approval until the drainage issue is resolved. Not just an agreement, I want it resolved, because I just know what happens, people get busy, more things get built, and then you find out, oh, we needed to do something, and now there's houses in the way, or whatever it is. So that was my concern with item K. And I think Mr. Tomac, is he here? Oh, I think he's had some conversations with the county about it, but that's just my recommendation would be to hold off on it.
Okay. Would you like to address that before I entertain the motion?
Sure. Good evening, Council. Sean Hendel, Hans Walton and Associates, 8 Broadway, Kissimmee, Florida. So, what Lynette is, our Councilmember Matheny is referring to, is there was some flooding of Cross Prairie Parkway. The flooding was associated with the inlets, the outfall inlets in the bioswale were covered with debris from the home builders. So there was some wind before the storm, some tarps blew over the outfall inlets and blocked the inlets. The bioswale filled up and backflowed into the roadway. We currently have a program that polices the builders and polices the bioswale, and we keep it clean. We're also in the process of cutting slots into those inlets, so if any other debris gets into the bioswale, it will flush through the slots into the pond and not block the grate. We've rerun all the calculations. The county hired HNTB to run calculations. We didn't agree with their calculations, and so we reran those. It shows that the road had 5 locations where the hydraulic grade line would come out of the inlets, anywhere from 0.02 feet, which is a 1/4 inch, to 0.2 feet, which is a little over 2 inches. So that water would never, even in the design storm, that water would never get outside of the parking spaces, because those inlets are adjacent to parking spaces. So there's not an issue with the road. There was an occurrence that's been addressed. It's been addressed by the CDD. I am the CDD engineer. And the project is still under maintenance of the CDD, so there's still a maintenance bond on the roadway. So if there's anything else, the maintenance bond covers it, but we will take care of it. And we would ask you not to hold up a plat for a development for a project that was, a problem that was occurred by debris over an inlet. You know, we've addressed that, and we're continuing to address that. So that's our request to you, is to please proceed with the plat and allow our builders to continue building their homes.
All right, thank you very much. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. The school district asked me.
Sure, your name?
Oh, sorry, Melissa Dunklin, Community Development Director. After the distribution of staff report, the school district provided us a school capacity report and asked that we put it on the record for you today. Basically, it says the application has no impact on public school capacity. The developer has addressed all of the school district's concerns. So I'm going to hand it to the clerk.
All right, thank you. Ms. Matheny?
Thank you. I'm going to make a motion to postpone this item until the fixes are in place and the county has signed off on the fixes. That's my motion. I
Mr.
mean,
Manzares?
I don't know if I have to give it a date certain, but
We'd rather have a date certain.
there's no way to give a date certain,
I know, but
so.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
I'll second that. I will defer to our engineer on the board and trust her word on it.
Councilmember Gilbert?
The only question I had, a while back, Mr. Tilley might remember this happened when Harmony Football Field first opened. There was a storm, and we had put things over the grades so the athletes wouldn't trip or fall over those grades. And then when the storm came, it flooded, we pulled them. And is this something similar you're talking about? Is this
Yes.
tarps and stuff? I'm sorry, I just don't understand.
Yes, sir. So when the builders were building, they have Tyvek that goes on the side of the building that protects it from water to the wood surfaces. So they had put that into their dumpsters, or they were adjacent to the dumpsters, and the wind blew it into the bioswale. When the rain came, it picked up the Tyvek, it carried it to where the water is trying to get into the retention pond, and it covered up the inlet, and the water couldn't leave. This plat is to the east side of Cross Prairie Parkway. The flooding was to the west side of Cross Prairie Parkway. So even where this plat is, it's not impacted by any of this. There's another project that we're actually doing right now. It's called Clay Whaley Phase 2, and we are going to be widening the Clay Whaley over the turnpike to 4 lanes. And as part of that, we're diverting the basin that goes into the bioswale into the retention pond that we built on the southwest corner of that intersection. And that will take another 8 acres off the bioswale, so the stages drop another foot. And Ray Stengel has already acknowledged that he is fine with us diverting that basin and addressing the problem. So I'm kind of shocked that we have an issue with this, because we've been working diligently as the CDD and as the engineer of record, and we understand that the problem was a maintenance, that we didn't have the inlets maintained, and we've addressed that. So we have somebody in the field every single day that walks the bioswale and makes sure there's no debris. So we're trying to be good partners and prevent this from happening again, but I mean, we have the pictures that show the inlets completely covered with Tyvek and debris. So, but yes, very similar to what happened to Harmony.
So it's your contention the issue has been resolved?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Would anyone in the audience like to speak to this item? If not, we will have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
No,
Motion carries 4-1.
it's been postponed. Item M, please. Councilmember Matheny.
Thank you. This one might require Dave Tomac to come up, because I don't have our computer technology is not keeping up with us, but, I went out and met with the residents, in Lancaster, and, there were several items that were discussed in the field, and, Mr. Tomac has brought to my attention before the meeting the resolution for all of the items, and I wanted him to share that are in the approval.
Yes, ma'am. Hi, Mayor, council members, Dave Tomac with the City Manager's Office. So for this particular consent item, if you approve it, you're approving it with 3 conditions. Basically, we did meet out there with the adjacent residents. We have met with the applicant and their engineer of record to talk about things that we can do to address those concerns. So we added 3 conditions. The first one was to install a 6-foot-high opaque fence on the cul-de-sac side. So there was a fence proposed at the bottom of the hill because they had brought fill in. They've agreed to move it up to the top of the hill on their open space tract, and then to continue it along the backside of their cul-de-sac until they get to the other side where there's a recreation track there as well. And that should block the headlights from the different vehicles and things like that. In our last conversation with the applicant, they agreed to condition number 1. Condition number 2, we talked about a concern about drainage on the bottom of the hills on the south side. So we've added an unobstructed drainage easement along the south side of lots 51 through 57 with a note that the drainage easement is to be maintained by the HOA. Again, the applicant has agreed to that condition, and I think I've already seen the revised drawings to show that, so that's fine. The third one, we asked for a 6-foot-high opaque fence at the top of the hill on the south side of buildings on lots 51 through 56. Again, the privacy fence issue. As an option, we've allowed them to bring in fill, put in a retaining wall, so that they can actually move that fence further away from the houses and give the customers of those lots a backyard. I understand today that the applicant is selecting to do a retaining wall and actually bringing in some fill to raise that level to be more flat. Now, that's a non-technical person's term, flat, so don't get me into your world. And then to put the 6-foot opaque fence back by the retaining wall. So they're here to discuss that if you need, but those are the 3 conditions that go with the consent.
And they've agreed to those conditions?
Well, I'll let them speak for that. I do know on items 1 and 2, they agreed to it. Item 3, they proposed that doing the retaining wall option. Again, they're here, they can speak to that.
Okay. Would the applicant like to speak?
Good evening, Council. Sean Hendel, Hanson Walton Associates, representing the applicant, and Rick is here with Johnson Surveying, who's representing the final plat for this. The 3 conditions we are in agreement with. On the 3rd condition, it stated that they wanted the 6-foot fence to be 6 feet above finished floor. That is not a normal condition. Typically, even if you take where we redesign the facilities, and that you don't put the finished floors at existing grade, so when you put the 6-foot fence on the property line, it's typically about 4 feet above the finished floor. So we would ask that the 6-foot fence be on the plans that have been provided to the city on the top of the retaining wall. It makes every finished floor between 4 and 5 feet. The fence would be 4 or 5 feet above that finished floor. We are buffering a commercial business from residential in a residential district. So even though the property is LDR to the south of us and ag zoning, when we were in the field, they said they run a commercial business out of that building. It's not their homestead where they live, it's just where they they operate their business. So I don't know what type of business that is, but it did have roll-up doors, and he was concerned that people would be looking into his business. So it'll be 6 feet above the retaining wall, and it's about 4 or 5 feet above finished floors. We did lower some of the finished floors, and we're going to remove that dirt based on city code, and then we regraded the lots to make that work more effectively. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Councilmember Matheny.
Thank you. So thank you for those concessions, because I believe that answered all of the concerns of the neighbors. I know they're here. I don't know if they've turned in a paper to speak on it. I'd like to hear from them, but I really appreciate that. And when they say opaque fence, it's like a white vinyl fence. It's not going to be like chain link with like black slats in it or something.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
it's going to be.
it'll be a segmented block retaining wall.
Okay.
That's between 1.9 and 5.9 feet high. And then on top of that wall, you'll have a 6-foot white PVC vinyl fence.
Okay, PVC fence, yeah. So I do believe that addresses all the concerns, and I would just, I'm sure you're on top of that, but, you know, if they choose to put the retaining wall, we still have to leave the room for drainage between the property line and the retaining wall.
So there's still a 6-foot unobstructed easement. There's still a swale back there that goes to an inlet and then drains to that inlet. So we'll
Okay.
still have that in our plans, and it'll still provide for the drainage.
Perfect. And I'm going to bring up an item about Phil in my time at the end. But Mayor, did the residents fill out a paper? Could we give them an opportunity to comment?
Yes, well, I'll definitely be doing that.
Okay.
Would Ronald Hood, would you like to speak to this item?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Ronald Hood, 1756 up the road, St. Cloud. So the conditions that were agreed to, we do think that's acceptable. First thing that I wanted to say, though, is I want to thank the committee members that came out to the property to actually see what it looked like on the ground. Sometimes these things don't look the same on that paper as it does. And when I say this thing changed by 7 feet, okay? And it was a pretty significant issue for us to look out there and see this change. So we do appreciate the changes. We appreciate our new neighbors and making the change for that to go out there. We are still a little bit concerned about the drainage along the east side, even though the south side is addressed in the conditions. There's still drainage along the east side. And as we heard in item K, yeah, draining can be a problem, can it? So we understand there's a performance bond that'll be attached to this, and that in the future, if that is a drainage problem, we can bring that up. But we are still concerned, very concerned actually, that we're still going to have a significant amount of dirt that that water's going to percolate down and come onto the property. So, but other than that, the staff members that came out, I mean, thanks everybody for bringing the right staff members out. I think that significantly made this a lot easier on the homeowners. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hood. Scott Sager. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, Scott Sager, 1776 Drew Lane Road. I own the property south of this Lancaster development. First off, I just want to state there's not a commercial business there. It's a building. I have a lot of toys, I guess. And so, yeah, the concern obviously is that this is now 7 feet high, and that they were going to put the fence below that, so the fence would now sit below, and the house, basically where those homes are situated, everything would look directly into the property. So our ask was to move the fence to the top of that line, up to that 7-foot line. So if the agreement is that we're going to now, and I had offered that as one of the resolutions to put in as a retaining wall, because that was on the north side of the property. There's a significant retaining wall along there, and then put the fence at the top of that. I know we're kind of splitting hairs if we're talking about like at the floor level and things like that. I understand that is unreasonable, but I am asking that, if we can come to an agreement of a retaining wall that would border along whatever those lot numbers are at basically the south end of those properties or the north end of my property line, putting the retaining wall with the 6-foot vinyl fence at the top of it, I'm in agreement of that.
Thank you. Mr. Sean?
So we are in agreement with that. And I do apologize. I thought when we were meeting in the field, it was a business, so it's a toy shed. So we're in agreement. We're gonna put the retaining wall in. This is Highland Homes, Milton Andre and Joel Adams, and they always try to do what's right for the neighbors. I did also want to let you know that on the development, that this Gardens at Lancaster has joined the HOA of Lancaster. So their recreation facilities is part of that agreement with them, that they're going to add some additional facilities, and they're going to not duplicate like the tot lot and stuff that's already available in Lancaster. So they're going to be adding some pickleball courts and a basketball court to provide different opportunities for recreation in the area.
Very good. Would anyone else in the audience like to speak to this item?
I hate to do this to you, Mayor. I just want to clarify something so that we know what we're going to get. The retaining wall is behind the easement.
It's to the south of the easement.
Okay. Yeah, so it is going to be where the fence is now, or on the property line? So,
So the retaining wall will be on the property line where the original 6-foot fence was proposed. We'll raise up the grade, and then we'll put the 6-foot fence on top of that retaining wall. But it will be on the property line, and between that point and the house will be the 6-foot drainage swale that the HOA will maintain.
All right, thank you very much.
Mayor,
Councilmember Matheny.
thank you.
Do you have anything else?
I do, actually. Dave, I was jotting down the comments, and I don't think you said another issue that the residents were concerned about, but I believe everybody's okay with it, was there was a tract next to one of the lots, and initially the fence was down at the bottom, and we wanted to move it up to the
yeah,
top.
that's part of condition 1.
That's in it?
I
Okay.
think I must have just breezed through it.
I was
when
writing, so I could have missed it
Yeah,
too,
that's
so.
that was the first condition, was it comes to the top of that tract and then connects to the back of that cul-de-sac, where the sidewalk is, and then goes around and ties into that
Perfect.
recreation tract on the other
Okay,
side.
thank you. I'll make a motion to approve with the conditions. Oh, sorry.
Let Mr. Urban speak first.
No, I just wanted to state for the record that I did meet on site with the residents, and I'm thankful and happy that everybody has come to agreement here, so thank you, everyone.
Councilmember Matheny, would you like to make a motion now?
I'll make a motion to approve with the conditions as stated.
Second.
We have a motion for Councilmember Matheny, a second Councilmember Urban for the approval of item K. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Aye.
Or M.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
And to
Motion
clarify,
carried.
Mayor.
And
that
I
was-
said item K, it should have been item M. I'm sorry.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to any other items on the consent agenda? Yes.
I just wanted to make one more comment on the previous item affecting ED2.
But that item, is that item K? It's been continued.
Item K, yes. I just
Yeah.
want to make a statement.
Again, it's been continued, so
I know,
next
I'm
time it
not-
comes back.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
All right. If not, could I have an entertainment for approving the remaining items on the agenda that have remained unaddressed?
So moved.
We have a motion from Councilmember Matheny. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second, Councilmember Fletcher. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Brings us to public hearings. Madam Clerk, will you please read items 1 and 2?
Final public hearing for ordinance number 2023-54, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, assigning a future land use designation mixed use to approximately 655.86 acres identified as Bella Terra, generally located south of Kissimmee Park Road, east Lake Toho Pecalaga, and west of Florida's Turnpike, providing for amending the official future land use map and comprehensive plan, filing of the Planning Commission recommendation and proof of publication, applicability and effect, severability, copies on file, and effective date. Final public hearing for ordinance number 2023-55, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, providing for the zoning amendment of the zoning map of the Land Development Code of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, specifically changing the zoning designation of approximately 655.86 acres, identified as Bella Terra, from mixed-use zoning designation county to a mixed-use zoning designation city, with a mixed-use future land use designation adopted by ordinance number 2023-54, generally located south of Kissimmee Park Road, east of Lake Toho Pecalaga, and west of Florida's Turnpike, providing for entering the designation of the official zoning map, filing of the Planning Commission recommendation, and proof of publication, severability, and effective date.
Good evening, Council. Dagmary Sagara, Deputy Director, Community Development. It's been a minute I haven't been up front, so I'm trying to warm up. So this item in front of you is for the final hearing and adoption of a future land use to mixed use from the county into mixed use city, and zoning map amendment also from the mixed use county to mixed use city. The property is approximately 655 acres, and as stated, located off of South Kissimmee Park Road, east of Lake Toho, west of the Turnpike. The property was annexed into the city in January of 2024 by this council. The applicant, with the approval of this rezoning and future land use, the city has adopted and the approvals for the previous approvals from Osceola County for the concept plan, the preliminary subdivision plan, the habitat management conservation plan, and the CDD. The applicant proposing multifamily, a single-family residence, and apartments with 2 neighborhood center and a multiple-purpose trail path. It meets the growth management strategic goal, and is staff recommendation for approval of ordinance 2023-54 and ordinance 2023-55. The applicant is here to answer any questions. I'll be happy to answer any questions as well.
All right, thank you. Would the applicant like to speak to these 2 items?
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor, council members. Tom Sullivan with the Gray Robinson Law Firm. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. Just wanted to say that we're happy to be in the city. I know last time we were here, we just got annexed, but no changes since we were before you the last time. Just as Dagmary said, just going from mixed use in the county to mixed use here in the city, and would appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you. This time we'll take public comment. Robert Miller. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I read the item wrong. Forgive me. I apologize. I read your item wrong. Would anyone in the audience like to speak to this item? If not, we'll have discussion or motion by council. Councilmember Matheny.
Oh, sorry, that's old.
Do what?
Old light.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Urban for approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
This is for ordinance number 2023-54. We have a second from Councilmember Fletcher. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
No.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1.
Do I have a motion for the adoption of ordinance number 2023-55?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion from Councilmember Urban. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Fletcher. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
No.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1.
Brings us to item number 3. Madam Clerk.
Final public hearing for ordinance number 2024-15, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, amending Chapter 46, Traffic and Vehicles, creating Article 3, Pedicabs, Section 46-131 through 46-200, and authorizing the use of pedicabs upon designated streets, providing that state and county roads are not authorized, providing for a revocable license, providing for a waiver of claims, providing for parking regulations, providing that a driver's license is required, providing for registration, providing for required equipment, designating a pedicab boundary area, providing for number of occupants, speed and required insurance, providing for enforcement, providing for conflict, severability, administrative corrections, codification, and an effective date.
Good evening. Antoinette Forbes, Economic Development Director. The item before you, which is ordinance number 2024-15, authorizes the use of pedicabs, also establishes a pedicab boundary within the city. This item was presented to the City Council back in December of last year, and then again, its first public hearing was February the 8th. Since that time, we've made some changes and updates in accordance to the comments that were provided by council. Just a brief summary that the scope will allow privately operated permit-required vendors. They must register with the city. These will be non-motorized vehicles. The proposed boundary continues to be the lakefront on the north, Brown Chapel to the east, Mississippi to the west, and 13th Street on the south. The hours of operation will mirror the entertainment district. We have not designated any drop-off or pickup areas. I do want to note one Scrivener's error where it says one approved vendor will be in use at a time. That is incorrect. During the time that we were creating the agenda, this should have been removed off by staff, and it was not. So we are allowing for multiple vendors for this particular ordinance. A decal as well as rates must be openly displayed. Also in accordance with council's comments that there is a, a provision about music and loud noises not more than 10 decibels or to be reasonably heard by a driver or passengers. So that is the summation of this proposed ordinance. Staff is requesting the approval of ordinance 2024-15. Excuse me. It's just allergies.
You done? All right, would anyone in the audience like to speak to this item? If not, we'll have discussion and a motion by council. Councilmember Urban.
Just wanted to say, so happy to see this getting across the finish line. Excited for this for our city. And I just also had one question. If this was passed tonight, when would this go into effect?
So it should go into effect immediately,
Yeah,
correct?
it'll take effect.
Okay, thank you.
Are you want to get a ride or something?
Needs a
I'm
ride
sorry,
home.
forgive me. Councilmember Gilbert.
Thank you. This is, again, Councilman Urban, great getting this through. I've seen in the past where we might need to look in the future of staging areas of where these pedicabs stage as events go on and come back, maybe somewhere lakefront or somewhere else. Not necessary now, but as we see the traffic patterns, I would like the staff to at least acknowledge that there might have to be certain staging areas as we grow and for certain city functions that parking and staging is already an area. But I'm so excited about this, but I'd just like to keep in mind in the future if we have to designate staging areas for larger events and functions, so it helps the traffic patterns. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion from council? Could I entertain a motion?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion from Councilmember Fletcher, second from the mayor. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Madam Clerk, could you please read item number 4 into the record?
Final public hearing for ordinance number 2024-07, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, to annex into the City of St. Cloud approximately 72.29 acres identified as Trinity Place, located east and south of Nova Road, west of Pine Grove Road, and north of Lake Lizzie Drive, in accordance with the voluntary annexation provisions of Chapter 171.044 Florida statutes.
Thank you, Melissa Dunklin, Director of Community Development. The request before you tonight is consideration of an annexation of 72.29 acres of land, including any and all adjacent rights-of-way, known as Trinity Place. After the distribution of our staff report, the school district provided a school capacity report for the record. I'm going to hand this over to the clerk. Staff recommended approval, and on January 16th, 2024, Planning Commission also recommended approval. On February 22nd, 2024, this City Council authorized ordinance number 2024-07 to move forward to final public hearing. Therefore, we are requesting that you approve ordinance number 2024-07. Staff is available if you have any questions.
Thank you. Is there an applicant here that would like to speak to this?
Well, to be clear, the applicant is staff.
Sir?
The applicant is the city on this. This is
Okay, I
an
understand.
encumbrance annexation.
Good evening, Sean Hendel, Hans Walter Associates, representing the developer, sorry. The city is the applicant, and developers in agreement, excited the opportunity to be part of the city, and they wanted me to convey that to you. Thank you.
All right, very good. Anyone else like to speak to this item? If not, we'll have discussion and a motion by council. We'll have discussion and a motion by council.
Motion approved.
We have a motion from Councilmember Gilbert. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Urban. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Brings us to item number 5.
Final public hearing for ordinance number 2024-04, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, to annex into the City of St. Cloud approximately 91.815 acres identified as Amelia Groves Phase 1 and 2, located east and south of Nova Road, west of Pine Grove Road, and north of Lake Lizzie Drive, in accordance with the voluntary annexation provisions of Chapter 171.044 Florida statutes.
Good evening, Melissa Dunklin again. This is a request for the consideration of annexation, and this is also an encumbrance annexation for 91.815 acres of land, including any and all adjacent rights-of-way into the city. Staff recommends approval on January 16th, 2024. Planning Commission also recommended approval, and on February 22nd, 2024, this council authorized ordinance number 2024-04 to move forward to this final public hearing. Therefore, we are requesting approval of ordinance number 2024-04. I am available if you have any questions on this one as well.
Thank you. Would anyone in the audience like to speak to this item? If not, we'll have discussion and our motion by council. What is the pleasure of the council? Could I entertain a motion?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion from Councilmember Gilbert. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Fletcher. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Brings us to items 6, 7, and 8. Madam Clerk.
Final public hearing for ordinance number 2024-16, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, to annex into the City of St. Cloud approximately 1.6 acres, identified as Alpha Neptune and Sunnyside Avenue, located north of Sunnyside Avenue, south of Neptune Road, and west of Breezewood Street, in accordance with the voluntary annexation provisions of Chapter 171.044 Florida statutes. Final public hearing for ordinance number 2024-17, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, assigning a future land use designation of mixed use to approximately 1.6 acres identified as Alpha Neptune and Sunnyside, located north of Sunnyside Avenue and south of Neptune Road and west of Breezewood Street, providing for amending the official future land use map of the comprehensive plan, filing of the Planning Commission recommendation and proof of publication, applicability and effects, severability, copies on file, and effective date. Final public hearing for ordinance number 2024-18, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, providing for the zoning amendment of the zoning map of the Land Development Code of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, specifically changing the zoning designation of approximately 1.6 acres identified as Alpha Neptune and Sunnyside from mixed-use zoning designation county to a mixed-use zoning designation city with a mixed-use future land use designation adopted by ordinance number 2024-17, generally located north of Sunnyside Avenue, south of Neptune Road, and west of Breezewood Street, providing for entering the designation on the official zoning map, filing of the Planning Commission recommendation and proof of publication, severability, and effective date.
Good evening, Melissa Dunklin. This is a request for annexation, future land use assignment, and zoning map amendment for the project known as Alpha Neptune and Sunnyside. They are requesting annexation and also to assign them the mixed-use land use, which is consistent with what they have in the county right now. And they are asking for the mixed-use zoning designation, which is also consistent with what they have in the county right now. Staff recommends approval. Planning Commission also recommended approval, and we are requesting that you approve this item. If you have any questions, staff is available and the applicant is also available. And staff is recommending approval for all three ordinances, for ordinance number 2024-16 for the annexation, 2024-17 for the comprehensive plan amendment to assign the future land use, and 2024-18 for the zoning map amendment.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to speak?
Good evening, Council members. John R. Adams, R.J. Whitten Associates, 8 Broadway, Kissimmee 34741. We're the planners for the project. We're in agreement with staff and Planning Commission for approval of these items. If you guys have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
All right, thank you very much. Would anyone in the audience like to speak to any of these items?
Rob Miller, 1660 Breezewood
You need to come to the
Street.
mic to speak, please.
I'm sorry?
Speak into the mic. You're
Oh.
speaking on your way to the mic.
My apologies.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I'm giving you a hard time tonight.
No,
Go
Not a
ahead.
problem. Meter's not running, so I'm good. All right. Yes, sir. I just want to know what these gentlemen are going to do about retention and stormwater runoff because naturally, everything in that area drains to the southwest. And prior to Tahoka putting their retention pond in with their berm, everything would drain to a marsh area into the pasture. And when we get some heavy rains and all, that corner does flood out. And they had an emergency back there one time where EMS would not come in for 2 reasons. Number one, it was private road being Sunnyside, and the fact that the road was flooded. So that is an address, something that needs to be addressed. And I'd like to see, how these guys are going to put 18 apartments in on an acre and a half with retention and parking respectfully. I haven't seen no site plans or anything like that. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Would you like to speak to that, please?
And Mayor, if I could, as
Yes.
you know, we're talking about annexation, land use, and zoning right now. The concept plan is your first item on the council action. I don't know if you want to just roll them all in together and talk about it all right now, because some of these questions are probably more directed towards the concept plan.
Okay,
if
so
that's
why don't
okay with
I
the
have
applicant.
him, Madam Clerk, could you read item number 1 on council action into the record, please?
Discussion and possible action regarding approval for a mixed-use concept plan consisting of 18 multifamily units on property containing approximately 1.6 acres of land generally located north of Sunnyside Avenue and south of Neptune Road and west of Breezewood Street.
Thank you.
Yes, to address those questions, water management will all be taken care of at the next stage after this, which would be a site development plan. It's required by code to handle all the water management. The concept plan we've come up with actually shows a water management pond in that location next to that adjacent house in the south corner. Also, the roads that are being addressed, I know you mentioned that emergency services had issues. Sunnyside, we're giving an additional 10 feet to pave that road to a 50-foot right-of-way, and then that unnamed road, there's an existing 30-foot right-of-way, but we're giving another 20 feet to bring that road up to urban standards as well. And along with the widening of Neptune Road, will be 4 lanes out front.
I'll give you one more opportunity to speak. Come to the mic. State your name and address again.
I'm learning the procedure, sir. Rob Miller, 1660 Breezewood Street. Also, ingress and egress to this property. Are they going to allow them to come and go off of Sunnyside?
Talk to the council, please.
My apologies. Or are they going to allow them to come use Sunnyside as a driveway connection for ingress and egress? Are they blocking that off? And they're going to make them come in on Breezewood and around Sunnyside, have that all paved and everything, which is a private road.
All right, do you have any other questions?
That's it, sir?
Do you have any other?
Negative, not this time, sir.
All right,
No.
well, thank
All
you.
right, thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Like I said, the road with the current 30-foot right-of-way will be improved to an urban standard. They'll likely use that road. Sunnyside is also a public road, and along with Breezewood, it might have a blue sign, but it is a public road. I know on the Neptune improvement and road widening, Breezewood will actually cross across the street, and they'll be making a cul-de-sac to the north up there where it kind of comes in out of Y, and Breezewood will actually cross perpendicular, and that road eventually will be brought up to urban standards as well.
This is,
Sir, I apologize, but Sunnyside has always been.
wait till you get the microphone to talk, okay? Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you. Sunnyside has always been a private road, and I've tried to get the county in there to maintain it, and our family's been there for over 50 years, and they've always stated it's a private road and it's up to us. They've never graded it or anything, never put no fill in it or anything like that, so it is a private road. And it's my understanding with them cutting Ames Haven off there, and they're not going to allow Sunnyside ingress and egress, that they're going to make them come out to the light, the new traffic light at Breezewood, and it's going to cut straight through to Ames Haven where the fire station's going. That's my understanding of the plan for right now.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else in the audience like to speak to this item, these items? If not, we'll have discussion and or motion by council. We will begin with Councilmember Matheny.
Thank you. I don't have a problem with the first 3. I was more on Council Action 1. I just know what's happened to me and my tenure up here for 7+ years is a lot of times things get approved and then what comes in the next phase is not what anybody was expecting, you know, because we didn't see an elevation of a building. We didn't talk about building height. We didn't talk about anything. And I did ask the city manager just to make sure that there's not, to me, like planner language is confusing. Like I think it means something, but then later you find out it means something completely different. But I said, you know, I want to make sure what 18 multifamily units means. I'm like, is that buildings or is that like addresses, like literal places people live? And she confirmed it's addresses, the way that this is written. But for me, on the council action, I would like to see some renderings of the buildings and like what the site's going to look like. The city manager said that's not typically what comes in the concept phase, but I just want to make sure we get that. I mean, so do we have an opportunity to see it before it's already like, you know?
Here comes our planning director.
Hi, good evening, Melissa Dunklin again. So the way the site is approved on the concept plan, they will be doing a subdivision because they're splitting it with roadway by 3. So they'd have to do a plat, sorry, my tablet jumped. I just want to confirm that it is an actual road and not a driveway before I misspeak. That fine grain road network.
I'm not so concerned about that. I'm more concerned about how the lot's laid out, what the buildings look like, what the height is. I'm more concerned about that than.
Well, I think what she's saying is if they have to do a
Right.
preliminary subdivision plan,
You'll see
then
You'll
you
see
can
it.
give them
Okay.
direction that when they come with the preliminary subdivision plan, you want elevations included prior
Okay.
to approval.
Yes, and looking at the concept plan, it appears that it's labeled as alleys and drives. If it's a public alley, then they will do a subdivision. So I just need the applicant to confirm that that will be a public alley and not a private drive.
Good evening again. Being this is a concept plan, they do not have any renderings yet. They have not finalized product. We're requesting a neighborhood 2 within the mixed-use district, and that's a predominance of 18 multifamily units. So the max we could get is 18 multifamily. We're right adjacent to a community center. It makes sense for neighborhood 2 to be next to a community center, so that's what we're requesting tonight. At a later stage in the process after this approval, you'll have the opportunity to review and approve those renderings in the final site plan.
So you're confirming it will be a public road? That's what Ms. Dunklin was asking?
Yeah, because it's not going to come back unless you have to have a PSP.
Right.
There would still be an SDP that would still need approval.
Our city council doesn't approve SDPs.
We don't have a finalized site plan. The roads will likely be public, yes.
So how do we check the box for me?
Well, I would think that you can require the SDP to have city council approval if they don't go with a PSP.
I would prefer that. I don't know how everybody else feels. Okay,
I think you've got a consensus
I
on
think
that.
we got it.
I'm sorry, for clarification, you want the SDP to come if they don't do a PS?
Correct.
That's what the direction of the council is.
Just a question to you, has that been done in the past?
Well, many people have brought their renderings at this point, knowing our city council likes renderings.
At a mixed-use concept plan, they've brought renderings?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Do we have any other discussion from council? Then that brings us to the first item of annexation. Could I entertain the pleasure of the council regarding item number 2024-16?
Motion to approve.
You got a motion from Councilmember Urban. Do I have a second? A second from the mayor. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
As to the item of the future land use, item number 2024-17, what's the pleasure of the council? Do I have a motion? The mayor makes the motion. Could we have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Gilbert. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
And now, what is your pleasure concerning item number 2024-18, the zoning amendment? Do I have a motion for approval? The mayor makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Urban. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Brings us to council action item number 1. Ms. Matheny, would you like to make a motion with whatever
Yes,
caveats
I'm
you
going
want
to
to
try.
add?
I jotted it down, but I'm sure the attorney will correct me. Motion to approve with the condition that if they don't go the PS route and they go the SDP route, then that needs to come to the city council for approval with renderings.
That works.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Fletcher. Motion from Councilmember Matheny. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
And it carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Brings us to item number 9.
Final
Clerk?
public hearing for ordinance number 2024-11, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, amending Chapter 1, General Provisions, Administration, and Boards and Commissions by adding a new fee to Article 1.2.8.c, titled 31 HCMP, and Chapter 3, Performance and Sitting Standards by adding a new section to Article 10, Mixed Use District, 3.10.4 Habitat Conservation and Management Plan, providing for conservation of natural resources within the mixed-use districts, and also include effect, severability, Scrivener's error, conflict, codification, and effective date.
Good evening, Dagmary Segara. This is the final hearing for ordinance 2024-11, which would adopt the Habitat Conservation and Management Plan for mixed-use districts within the city of St. Cloud. The ordinance amend the Land Development Code to add a section in Article 10 within Chapter 3 to integrate the plan, the HCMP plan, within the mixed-use districts in the city. This is similar to this, to the county's process in HCMP as well. The HCMP will enforce to create measurements to protect, preserve, maintain, and conserve the natural resources within the city. This item was heard by the Planning Commission in January 2024 and recommended approval, and this board on February 22nd authorized the ordinance to move forward to a final public hearing. It is staff recommendation to approve ordinance number 2024-11. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Would anyone in the audience like to speak to this item? If not, we'll have discussion and/or motion by council.
So moved.
We have a motion from Councilmember Atheny for adoption. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second, Councilmember Fletcher. Madam Clerk?
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Brings us to item number 10.
Final public hearing for ordinance number 2023-43, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, adopting the potable water element of the comprehensive plan, providing for filing of the Planning Commission recommendation and proof of publication, applicability and effect, severability, conflicts, copies on file, and effective date.
Dagmary Segara again. Ordinance 2023-23 amends the existing potable water element of the comprehensive plan, which was adopted in 2019. This update includes principles, guidelines, and strategies consistent with Florida state statutes regarding potable water within the city of St. Cloud, and the data and analysis within this update identified a plan for water supply resources and facilities needed to serve existing and new development. On December 14, this council approved the transmittal and review of this ordinance to the Florida Commerce. We received no comments, and no comments were received. It is staff recommendation to approve ordinance number 2023-43. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Would anyone in the audience like to speak to this item? If not, we'll have discussion and/or motion by council.
So moved.
We have a motion from Councilmember Atheny, second from the mayor. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
And that brings us to item number 11. Madam Clerk?
Final public hearing for ordinance number 2024-25, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, amending St. Cloud City Code, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 6, Code Enforcement, Division 1, generally to add Section 2-262, Civil Penalty, providing penalties for code violations shall not exceed $1,000 per day per violation for the first violation, $5,000 per day per violation for a repeat violation, and $15,000 for a violation that is irreparable or irreversible in nature, providing for severability, conflict, codification, administrative correction, publication, and an effective date.
Thank you. Hey, Mayor, council members, I'm Dave Tomac with the City Manager's Office. Chapter 162 Florida statutes says that once we go over 50,000 people, we are allowed to raise our maximum fines for code enforcement. So we're actually asking you to do that this evening. Your current penalty for a first-time violation is up to $250 a day. We're proposing to increase that to not to exceed of $1,000 a day. For repeat violations, it's currently at $500 per day. We're asking you to increase that to a maximum of $5,000 per day. For irreparable or irreversible, I have to read that. We're taking that up from 1,000 to 15,000. Or no, actually 5,000. 5,000 to 15,000. I was on a roll there too, and I blew it. So these are maximums. Obviously, we would look at the different characteristics of each violation in setting what the fine would be assessed by your special magistrate process. It's also not the only way that you can enforce your codes. There's provisions that you can actually take civil action, and there's special provisions in some of your ordinances that actually provide for restoration, payment into tree banks, et cetera. So this is just the standard way of doing it, but for particularly difficult violations, we're allowed to take additional actions if you see fit. Also, for this, it allows you to collect your administrative costs for that. So this doesn't preclude you from including administrative costs, which you guys do pretty much in every case. I'd be happy to answer any questions. There would be a cute little dog with glasses looking at you, but I don't have that available, so you just have me looking back at you.
All right, if you'll just hold on in case there's any questions. Would anyone in the audience like to speak to this item? If not, we'll have discussion on a motion by council. Councilmember Matheny.
Thank you. So, Dave, I just want to confirm, or the attorney, the $1,000 and $5,000 is the max we can do?
Yes.
Based on our size? Okay. So my concern was about the $15,000 for a violation that is irreparable or irreversible in nature, okay? Because irreparable means impossible to repair or make right again, and irreversible means incapable of being reversed, right? So, not that anybody would do this, but I just thought some people might say, hey, it's the cost of doing business. I'm going to go do these things. The max they're going to charge me is $15,000, right? Cost of doing business. I'll go wipe all this stuff out, and then it costs me $15,000, but I can build 10 more homes or whatever. Whatever the thing is. So I was concerned about that, and I understand $15,000 is also the maximum.
That's correct, statutory limit.
So the language that Dave spoke about we have other avenues and opportunities, do we need to add that to this ordinance?
No. He was talking about those are provisions that are already
They're already in
provided in
place.
state statute or provided
Yeah.
in the city code elsewhere.
Because we all might be familiar with a case that we've dealt with recently where, they're being charged $250 a day, but if they're making $5,000 a day, they're just like, hey, that's the cost of doing business. I'll just get fined forever, So, I mean, it's the maximum, I guess it's the maximum, but the 15,000 concerns me just because, that's really not that much to a lot of people. It'd be a lot to me, but to a lot, depending on what the return is.
Yeah, but depending on what the violation is, you have other options, civil actions. Mr. Manzares has done a lot of cases here where we've talked about injunctions, we've talked about, actually we had one recently where they cut down a bunch of trees. They actually had to pay into the tree bank double the cost of replacing all those trees inch for inch, and a restoration plan where they have to replant. So there's other things that you can do for particularly egregious things. It's just not tied to the dollars, because the dollars is probably like 99% of what takes care of
Right.
stuff that happens in the city. There's other places you can go to when we need a bigger stick.
Okay. I don't know if Sean has any, Mr. Fletcher has any thoughts on it since you have experience. I just thought somebody might just go, "Meh."
So I think what Dave was saying is good. We did have an issue where there was trees that were chopped down in Osceola County, and the irreparable, whatever that section was, I think we ended up charging per tree. So it wasn't just one It ended up being a lot of money. For me, I think this is probably good enough.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll just remind the count, this is the
That's
most
the
we can
maximum,
do
yeah.
by law.
Yeah.
So,
Doesn't keep us from using other things, though.
Any other discussion? Could I entertain a motion?
So moved.
We have a
Second.
motion from Councilmember Matheny. We have a second from Councilmember
Gilbert.
Gilbert.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. My
Councilmember
hearing aids were
Gilbert.
not picking them
Aye.
up. Go ahead.
Sorry, Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Brings us to council action. We have items 2 and 3 that are first readings. They will not be up for discussion or input. They will simply be voted on. Is that not correct?
yes, to decide whether you want to move forward to final hearing.
Thank you. Could you read item number 2 into the record?
First reading and introduction for ordinance number 2024-12, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, assigning a zoning district of PUD planned unit development compatible with a low-density residential future land use designation change adopted by ordinance number 2022-43 for approximately 25.59 acres identified as Walker property located south of Chisholm Park Trail, west of South Narcousie Road, and north of Old Oak Trail, providing for entering the designation of the official zoning map, providing for approval of the preliminary final master plan, filing of the Planning Commission recommendation and proof of publication, severability, and effective date.
Could I entertain a motion for the adoption of the first reading of ordinance number 2024-12?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion from Councilmember Urban. We have a second from the mayor. Madam Clerk, you please call the roll.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Could you read item number 3 into the record?
First reading and introduction for ordinance number 2024-28, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, providing for the zoning amendment of the zoning map of the Land Development Code of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, specifically changing the zoning designation of approximately 10.33 acres identified as St. Cloud Marketplace from HB Highway Business to PUD Planned Unit Development, generally located south of East Earl Bronson Memorial Highway, east of Hickory Tree Road, and north of Live Oak Boulevard, providing for entering the designation on the official zoning map, filing of the Planning Commission recommendation, and proof of publication, severability, and effective date.
I'd like to make a motion for the adoption of ordinance number 2024-28. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gilbert. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Deputy Mayor Matheny.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Manzares.
I do not have anything, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. City Manager Miller.
No, I have nothing, thank you.
Councilmember Matheny.
I'm going to ruin that streak, sorry. But I'll be quick. So first, I wanted to find out about the art ordinance and make sure it's coming to the next meeting, the second reading, because it's been 6 months or so since we had the first reading.
Yes, we had to pull it, we had an advertising
Glitch.
language glitch that our attorney advised we should correct.
So it's next meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I actually have 3 things. I have a request for the maps. Could we vary the colors instead of multiple shades of pink? You know? Like, keep that in mind when you're doing maps. It's like you had maps in the meeting that had the city was pink and the county was pinkish. Like, you know, is there not a
So
way?
was it like the zoning and future land use map colors? Is that what we're talking
You'll
about?
just have to look. But, I mean, just keep in mind when you do maps is like, you know, there's millions of colors. Let's vary them a little bit. But the last thing I want to talk about is fill. So I brought this up before, and I guess we haven't changed any of the regulations at the city, but as projects are being developed and maybe they're not the most desirable piece of land anymore, and so then it requires 6 feet of fill, I think there needs to be some regulation in the city that you have to think about the neighboring properties, you know? you just think, I think if I'm living somewhere and this neighborhood comes in and they bring in 6 feet of fill to 5 feet from the property line and then, putting a house on top of that, I just think there seems to be some consideration for the existing property owners, and maybe like for every foot they take up and fill, you have to be 3 feet away from the property line or something. Like there needs to be some consideration to like the neighbors and just like the stuff we experienced where a fence was going to go on the property line, which didn't make any sense, seeing how there was, 6 feet of fill. Like that fence isn't going to do anything. I just want to put into the city's mind of just, I was surprised when I went out to Lancaster because I thought, we got beat up pretty bad on the Gramercy fill, that we're still doing it. We're still allowing all this fill and not really kind of thinking about how it harmonizes with the surrounding areas. So I wanted to see if the other council members feel the same way. There's some conversation I heard, well, that land's going to develop someday. I'm like, but it's not developed and there's people living there and they've lived there, 20 years. So I would like to see the city put some regulations in place regarding fill. So just going to see how the other council members feel about it.
I can give you an update if you'd
Perfect.
like. So, Councilwoman Matheny, you've brought this up before. We had a joint workshop with the county commission, and direction from both boards was to move forward. So we were hoping to adopt what the county was going to put in place, but unfortunately that, I don't think they're moving forward with that anymore. Our Public Works Department did reach out to a engineering firm to help us with this code language. Unfortunately, there's been a very long delay getting a scope, so I directed our Public Works Director to go use another engineering firm that we have on contract. So we are moving forward with a code change for that.
Great.
Good.
I think we got to keep everybody in mind when we're designing these. But that's all I have.
Councilmember Urban.
Yeah, thank you. I know we discussed it briefly at our workshop, but there were three-way stop signs installed on Lake Shore, and not by us, but it's an issue for our residents because it's one of the main thoroughfares coming in and out of our city. I thought that maybe after a while some of the issues would die down, but I drove by again today at 3:30 in the afternoon, which isn't even peak rush hour yet, and it was just an absolute nightmare. So number one, I was just going to ask if there are any updates from our direction at the workshop, but also just to maybe we can work with the county better in the future to address some of the main thoroughfares in our city that affect our residents in a negative way like that. So that's all I wanted to say.
I can provide an update on that also, yes.
Okay.
So, yes, the direction at Saturday's workshop was for me to send a letter to the county manager asking for assistance on this, to work on another alternative that we know that there was a stop sign going there, and perhaps we could wait to have there was a stop light that was eventually going to be there, but perhaps we could remove the stop sign since the crosswalk hasn't been put in yet, and wait to put the crosswalk in until the street light. I don't have a computer to send a letter, but I did call the county manager, Fisher, and he was actually agreeable for the potential. He asked me if we would be willing to help pay for the cost of a roundabout instead. And I said, yes, we would, if I could use mobility fees for that. So we are going to try to move forward with a roundabout, but I am getting the same complaints that you are also.
Thank you. That's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Fletcher.
So I just want to say thank you to staff, the city manager and the directors and everybody for all the work that additional work that they've been given and had to work through because of the IT issues. And then I just wanted to bring up one thing. I briefly spoke with the city manager, like really briefly, as I won't be at the next workshop in CRA meeting, because I will be out of town. I had reached out to State Rep Stark in Main Street to get a copy of all of the work that they did on the archway back in the day. And I was wondering if council was, at least had some interest in revisiting that. I didn't want to continue going down that path if it was something that, we didn't necessarily want to do. So I was looking for some help or assistance or a head nod to see if we could, maybe bring that up again.
I'd be up for it.
I saw one thumbs up. I haven't seen any others.
Mr. Gilbert's asleep.
I'm sorry, what? No, we did talk at the workshop, and we do talk, and citizens ask, we didn't know this was going on, so yes, let's move forward with something, and if that's the ideal way to start, let's start.
That's a yes.
I'm sorry, yes.
Thank you. Yes, sir. You got it.
Okay, we will work with the CRA on potentially bringing back the archway concept. Years past, it wasn't able to proceed because the city was unable to purchase the land needed on one side. But it has been 20 years. So I think it would be a wonderful addition to the downtown. I'd be happy to work on it.
Can I add something to that?
Sure.
So I don't really know what the archway looks like, but I'm cool with the idea. But I'm sure we all remember in our youth, maybe not you. I mean, you probably weren't born. But they used to hang banners across 192, and it would tell you like all the events. And I thought it was like a really great way back in the day that they would say spring fling's coming or whatever's coming, but you can't do it now because the road's so large. But maybe the entryway feature could have some kind of like sign component to it. And the other thing is, does it make sense to do a pedestrian crossing, an aerial pedestrian crossing? I don't know, just saying, if maybe we're bringing it back, maybe we have opportunity to like revision like what it is.
Staff, we've talked about a pedestrian crossing many times also, but I do want to, the cost is large, but that doesn't mean that we can't apply for grants. But I would like to point out, perhaps if we're going to pay for one of those, we might consider Michigan Avenue first because of all the kids that are walking across to the 3 schools. If we could maybe try for both. Or not.
I don't know. I think New York for me, but
Yeah, I'm open to any and all ideas. I just want to see some signage or something to mark the downtown as a destination
that's what we're talking
place.
about is over 192.
Yeah.
So
Talking about the arch for over
Oh, you're just talking about an arch on New York Avenue?
It's a much bigger project to take the arch over 192.
Even, I would be open to that, something to make a significant statement. Make a left or make a right.
Instead of just blue
Right.
light, traffic light.
Where you're like, why are these blue? Why
Right.
is this one blue? Was it on sale? But the city of Kissimmee, I don't know if you've ever seen the one, is it on like John Young Parkway that they built?
That's
a city
massive,
of Kiss-
yeah, it's huge.
But that was FDOT funded.
Mhm.
So.
If we can work with, state partners, something to where, and I think if we could even have some type of messaging, like you're saying there, it would allow us to get out a message to a lot of residents in a very easy manner. So.
Yeah, Florida Avenue might be a good spot for that to connect our brand new trail that goes to the lakefront. So
That would actually be that's a good idea because Florida Ave running down with the sidewalk, if it did go over, it would run right into, some future sidewalk on that side that could potentially come down 17th Street and then connect the schools that way.
Right.
Just idea.
They'll be working on it. You have anything else?
That's it. Thank you, Mayor.
That's it. Councilmember Gilbert,
I'm good.
Really?
Elizabeth, I'm coming.
I have a thank you note from the Boys and Girls Club of Central Florida expressing their appreciation for our support and a proclamation that we issued, and we are very grateful for the impact that the Boys and Girls Club is having on our residents here in St. Cloud. I also have a thank you letter from the Education Foundation expressing their appreciation for St. Cloud's generous support of the scholarship fund and the scholarships that we provide. And so, just for the record, we have received that, and we're certainly delighted to be able to be a part of the Education Foundation. With that, we've come to our information section and report section. Thursday, April the 4th, there will be a CRA, Community Redevelopment Agency meeting at 6 p.m. here at City Hall Council Chambers. Thursday, April the 18th, there will be a City Council workshop at 3 p.m. here at Council Chambers. Thursday, April the 25th, there will be a City Council meeting at 6:30 p.m. in Council Chamber. We have issued a proclamation in recognition of the Irish American Heritage Month. Warrant list number 6 and the Recreation Advisory Committee minutes for October have been approved and are available for your review. With that, there are no other items on our agenda. We will be adjourned.